Hello everyone, I'm Sister Vassa, and I'm having my coffee right now before I go to work here in Vienna in Austria. Today I am having Peruvian organic coffee that was given to me as a gift from a woman named Pauline at one of my talks in California. Pauline told me that she roasts her own coffee beans, and I want to thank her, if she's watching, for this nice gift. Oh, and I'm drinking from this tumbler, or sort of traveling mug, that I also received as a gift in Anaheim, California, from the parishioners of the Anaheim Byzantine Catholic Annunciation Church. You see, this tumbler has a picture of the inside, beautiful inside of the Annunciation Church in Anaheim, and on the other side, it has a picture of me. So I want to thank the parishioners, my friends from Anaheim, California, for this nice gift. Anyway, Zillions, we do have a very fascinating show today on the topic of the hours. Now, we're talking about this because we find ourselves in the long fasting period preceding Pascha or Easter, and the hours, particularly 3, 6, and 9, are very prominent during this time of year. Now, I know that if we don't live in a monastery, we rarely, if ever, pay attention to these services. In fact, many of us may have never even heard the hours celebrated because they are either entirely omitted at our parishes or we are not present when they are chanted. So they remain an almost purely monastic practice. And indeed, these services, as we have them today, were developed by monastics. However, if we look more deeply into the history of Christian worship, we will find that actually, before the development of organized monasticism in the 4th century, Christian laypeople, like you Zillions who watch this show, would pray privately on a daily basis at the hours called 3, 6, and 9, according to the way people kept time in late antiquity, which roughly correspond to our 9 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock midday, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This prayer of these ancient Christians was usually brief and could take on different forms. But my point today is that lay people did practice this. So I'd like to suggest to you today, Zillions, a sort of neat little idea that we could also rediscover these times of prayer, even if we can't be in church for their celebration. And no matter how busy our schedules are, we could give this a try. And a great time to do this, actually, to give this a try, is Lent. Because you see, during Lent in the Byzantine tradition, the hours become so prominent during the weekdays because the divine liturgy or the Eucharist is suppressed. That is, we don't celebrate the divine liturgy during weekdays at all, except the rare occasion of, if it happens during a weekday of Lent, of the Feast of the Annunciation. So let's take a look at what I'm going to call the praying the hours during Lent as a layperson, and see what I mean by this. First, let's talk about the very idea of having certain hours of prayer. The way this works in traditional church services, both in East and West, is that we attach to certain times of a day certain memories from salvation history. For example, our evening liturgical prayer, called Vespers, is associated with the creation of the world, because according to the book of Genesis, creation began in the evening. You can watch our episodes on Vespers if you want to learn more about this. And every morning service, called Matins, remembers the Lord's resurrection because he rose from the dead in the early morning. Similarly, the hours 3, 6, and 9 are associated with central moments of salvation history that happened at those times. Now, concerning this, what we call these hours, 3, 6, and 9, you might know that before the invention of the mechanical clock, which in English comes from the Celtic words clocca and clogan, both meaning bell, the mechanical clock was introduced in Europe by Latin monks in the 13th century in order to signalize with the church bell the times for prayer. Now, before the mechanical clock, the times of day were divided only approximately, being designated 3, 6, 9, or earlier than that 1, according to the position of the sun. Now, let's look more closely at the ancient hours 3, 6, and 9 and what they mean to us. The so-called third hour approximately corresponds, as I already said, to our 9 o'clock in the morning. And it was at this hour, according to Acts 2:15, that the Holy Spirit descended on the apostles. So in the Roman tradition, this hour of the descent of the Holy Spirit was called Hora Aurea, the golden hour, or Hora Sacra, the holy hour, and this hour was chosen for the celebration of the Eucharist on feast days. In the Byzantine tradition, the main hymn or troparion of the third hour, which is sung on the weekdays of Lent, is something we could perhaps say while driving to work, or perhaps already sitting at our desks at work, or wherever you may be. If you're a member of my crew, you are probably still sleeping, then this wouldn't apply to you. Anyway, here is the text of the troparion of the third hour. O Lord, you sent down your most Holy Spirit upon your apostles at the third hour. Take him not from us, O good one, but renew us, who pray to you. Now, I didn't see any of you writing this down, but I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, you can beg, you can cry, I'm not going to repeat it. Now, let's move on to the sixth hour, and this is the hour of the crucifixion, as it says in the Gospel of Luke. There they crucified him. It was about the sixth hour. For us, this is about 12 o'clock noon, or midday. And at this time, perhaps during our lunch break, we could say by heart, or if we have this troparion written down on a sheet of paper, we could read this troparion. Now I'm going to read the troparion of the sixth hour, and I'll only read it once. On the sixth day and hour, O Christ God, you nailed to the cross Adam's audacious sin committed in paradise. Tear asunder also the writing of our iniquities, and save us. And finally, we come to the ninth hour, which roughly corresponds, like I already said, to our 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is the hour of Christ's death on the cross and the events surrounding that, including the words of the repentant thief, the Lord's final cry from the cross, the darkness that encompassed the earth, and so on. As it says in the Gospel of Mark, and at the ninth hour Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. And the troparion of the ninth hour, sung on the weekdays of Byzantine Lent, goes as follows. At the ninth hour you tasted death in the flesh for our sake. Mortify the mind of our flesh. This is the carnal mind referred to in Romans 8. O Christ God, and save us. So, if we give this a try and remember throughout our day these central moments of salvation history, making them part of our day, we not only intensify our preparation for the upcoming celebration of Christ's passion and resurrection called Pascha, we also rediscover our connection to these events, Christ's salvific work and the resulting descent of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. So, if Lent has been passing us by with no real change to our daily life, let's hesitate no more. and open up our hearts to this ancient tradition of praying the hours.
Open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans.
That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go, please check out our new website, www.coffeewithsistervassa.com, and thank you to all of you who already got a mug. See you next time. Thank you.
Ba-da-bum-da-ba-bum-ding.